Welcome to VibeSense. Today, we're talking about a huge shift in India's economy, a massive overhaul of the goods and services tax system. And believe me, this isn't just some minor tweak. It's the biggest change to GST since it first rolled out in 2017, and it's set to affect pretty much everything, from what's in your shopping cart to the entire country's economic growth.
Okay, so let's get right to the heart of it. The whole point of this reform is one word: simplicity. That old kind of confusing system with 4 different tax rates, 5, 12, 18, and that hefty 28% is getting a major cleanup. The new setup is way more straightforward, built around just 2 main rates, 5% and 18%. The idea is to just clear out the clutter and make taxes easier for everyone. For us as shoppers and for all the businesses out there.
So yeah, a simpler system sounds great on paper, but let's get real. What does this actually mean for your day-to-day life? That's what we're all wondering, right? So let's dive into the part that really matters: how this is going to impact your wallet, your home, and even your health.
First up, and this is fantastic news, a bunch of everyday essentials are becoming totally tax-free. Zero GST. We're talking about staples like UHT milk, paneer, and those ready-to-cook rotis and parathas. But it gets even more critical than that. 33 different life-saving drugs, and that includes 3 vital cancer medicines, will now cost you less at the pharmacy. That's a huge deal.
And the good news keeps on coming in that lowest tax bracket. A whole bunch of common household stuff is dropping down to just 5% GST. Think about your shopping list: packaged snacks, coffee, chocolates, even butter and ghee. It also covers things like spectacles and other important medicines, which is going to make a real difference for millions of people.
Now, what about those bigger purchases, the things you save up for? Well, this is a major boost. Items that used to be stuck in that top 28% slab are getting a massive tax cut, all the way down to 18%. We're talking about things like air conditioners, TVs, and dishwashers. And it also includes really crucial stuff like cement and auto parts, which means building a home or fixing your car should get cheaper too.
So let's just quickly recap. The impact here is really widespread. You've got tax-free milk and paneer, you've got cheaper snacks at 5%, and you've got more affordable TVs and cement at 18%. It's all designed to do one thing: lower the cost of living and get people spending again. Okay, so while most things are getting cheaper, it's not all tax cuts. A brand new higher slab is being introduced at 40%. This one is aimed squarely at what the government calls sin and luxury goods. So what exactly does that mean?
Let's break down that first part. Sin goods sounds a bit dramatic, but it's an actual term in tax policy, and it has a very specific purpose.
So in the world of taxes, sin goods are basically products that are considered harmful, either to your personal health or to society in general. The obvious examples are things like tobacco, pan masala, and all those sugary drinks. Governments tax these things heavily for 2 simple reasons. 1, to make them more expensive so maybe people use them less, and 2, to raise extra money for the government.
Right, that makes perfect sense for tobacco. But here's where it gets interesting. The 40% slab also hits things like yachts, private jets, and super fancy cars. Now, these aren't exactly bad for your health. So why on earth are they being lumped in with traditional sin goods and getting slapped with such a high tax? Well, there's actually a 4-part logic here. First, it's a great way to raise money without hitting the average person. Second, it's about social equity, making the tax system a bit fairer, by having the wealthiest contribute more. Third, it discourages spending on expensive imported goods, which is good for the country's finances. And finally, it just keeps things simple. It's easier to put them in the highest tax bracket than to create a whole new category.
Now, moving beyond our own wallets, this whole reform is also a strategic play to kickstart some of India's most important industries. So let's take a look at how this is designed to fuel the country's big growth engines.
The auto industry is getting a major tune-up. Taxes on small cars and bikes, plus commercial trucks and vans, are all being lowered into that 12 to 18% range. And this is a big one. Auto parts are getting a single, uniform 18% tax rate. That's going to simplify the supply chain and cut costs for everyone from manufacturers to your local mechanic. And those positive vibes ripple out to other sectors too. In healthcare, you're seeing big tax cuts on medical devices and health insurance. For infrastructure, that tax cut on cement down to 18% is a total game changer for construction. And for logistics and MSMEs, all the micro, small, and medium businesses, transport fees are dropping to just 5%, which is going to lower costs all across the board.
Okay, so let's zoom all the way out. We've talked about people, and we've talked about industries. But what does all of this mean for the big picture, for the Indian economy as a whole?
Now, a massive tax cut like this obviously has a price tag.
It's estimated the government will take in about 48,000 crore rupees less in revenue each year. But the way policymakers see it, this isn't a loss. It's being framed as a massive investment back into the economy to get it moving.
And here's the return they're hoping for on that investment. The predictions say this stimulus could boost India's GDP by up to 120 basis points. In simple terms, that's a 1.2% bump in growth over the next year or so. And for an entire economy, trust me, that is a significant jump.
And it seems like the financial markets are buying it. As soon as the news broke, the stock market gave a big thumbs up. India's main indexes, the Nifty and the Sensex, both climbed. It's a really strong vote of confidence from investors who are betting this reform is going to be good for business.
This quote really puts it all into perspective. You've got experts calling this the most significant overhaul of GST since it was born. So this isn't just about tweaking a few numbers here and there. It's a fundamental redesign of the tax system, all geared towards one thing: growth.
So when you boil it all down, the whole strategy is pretty clear and has 4 main parts. Step 1, make the essential stuff cheaper for everybody. Step 2, get people to spend more money, boosting demand. Step 3, light a fire under key sectors like manufacturing. And Step 4, tax luxury, not necessity, to make sure the money keeps flowing.
And finally, the all-important question: when is this all happening? Well, the announcement was made on September 3rd and 4th. The new lower rates are set to go live on September 22nd. And from that point on, all eyes will be on the economy for the next year or so to see the real impact.
Which leaves us with the big trillion-rupee question. This is a bold, comprehensive plan. The goal is crystal clear: create a simpler, more efficient tax system that puts more money in people's pockets and fuels the economy. The only question left is, will it work? Will this be the key that shifts India's economy into its next gear? Thanks for watching VibeSense.